America asks its citizens to go to dangerous places and to do difficult things. These are people who are in the military, who are in the clandestine services, who are diplomats, and they go willingly, and they go acknowledging that there is a risk, but the understanding that they carry with them is if they end up in harm's way, historically they have rest assured that their country will do everything it can do to rescue them. That's not a guarantee. And the people that go and they accept these assignments voluntarily, they know that there is an inherent risk, but the understanding is that their nation will move heaven and earth to save them. And that didn't happen. And 4 people were murdered. That's the scandal of Benghazi. The thing that I take away, and it's been mentioned by previous speakers, is this jarring contrast between the ingenuity and the heroism and the initiative that was taking place at Benghazi. You can read these communications, you can understand the urgency of what they were dealing with and this overwhelming sense of responsibility to rescue other Americans. Meanwhile, across the ocean, almost a disposition of near fecklessness. The summary of this White House meeting that the chairman mentioned that took place at 7:30, half of the discussion of that meeting, half of the readouts, according to the information that we became privy to, suggested that they were talking about a video. When you read this information, you come to the conclusion, at least I did, that they're as concerned, actually more concerned, about whether they're going to be offending the Libyan government by how it is that this rescue is proposed to take place than whether the rescue is actually successful. Marinate in that for a second. They're worried about approvals. They're worried about how this will come off. It's very clear that they were very worried previous to that about the notion of pulling back from Benghazi. That's what the testimony shows, because an early exit from Benghazi would have done what? It would have maybe upset the Libyans. It's outrageous. Ambassador Kris Stevens, before he's the ambassador, when he's the envoy, he goes and he lands with no diplomatic immunity. He's on his own. It was a White House policy of no boots on the ground that deprived him of military support that was previously going to accompany him, yet he goes in alone. It's a foreshadowing of things to come. So I think we've got to also look at this notion of responsibility. There's been a lot of discussion, obviously, about Secretary Clinton. At the end of August, we learned, before the attack, Secretary Clinton approved a $20 million grant global security contingency fund to who? To the Libyans. But this was the same State Department that basically stiff-armed one request after another request, cascading requests, cumulative requests, requests for security and more support that were essentially rejected, ignored, put somewhere else. So here's what's in it for us. Here's what we have to recognize. If we are going to ask Americans to put themselves at risk in the future, we've got to remedy this, all of us. America needs to have a reputation with people who are serving America, that America will follow its end of the bargain. And America, that is, the bureaucrats in Washington, failed this miserably.
We ended up fighting off those bad guys, Ansar Sharia, Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. We have an ISR that was overhead, it's been overhead since 11:30, a drone that is giving feeds all the way back to DC, to AFRICOM, and to our facility in Tripoli. So everybody's seeing in the world right now what's going on at 11:30 Libyan time. The ISR is coming to us and saying, you guys got to get back to the annex. There are people massing, you got to protect it. There's 25 people. And at that point in time, there ended up being 36 total, but at that point in time, before the Tripoli team came in, we had about 25, 26 people there that we had to protect. So we get in our vehicles and we leave. And we leave the compound. We get back to the annex, and I get up on my fighting position, and I said, sometimes leaders, you got to make tough decisions, and it will affect you for the rest of your lives. I'm not going to tell you your decisions won't. You will. You have to live with them. make a decision, though. We did, and we left somebody. Never leave the fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. That's part of the 5th stanza of the Ranger Creed. We left the ambassador. Couldn't find him. We had to make a choice. Do we stay? We don't even know if he's there. Or do we get back to our compound and protect the people that we know are alive in there? Well, he was found at 1 in the morning, half on his bed, half on the floor in the safe room, where a safe room was, when the local Libyans pulled him out when the fire died down. Man behind. I will live with that for the rest of my life every day.